So we begin in Syria, where the new administration is pledging to close the former regime's notorious prisons and secure potential chemical weapons sites. The government also says it will pursue those who facilitated the Assad regime by torturing and killing detainees. Speaking to Al Jazeera, Syrian Prime Minister Mohammed al-Bashar reaffirms that those guilty of war crimes will be held to account.
The door remains open for all employees, except for those whose hands are stained with blood from military institutions, who, although they were once employees, took up arms and fought against the Syrian people, displacing them. These individuals will be referred to courts for trial before being allowed to return to their roles in the institutions.
Now, this comes as tens of thousands of Syrians are missing and people are anxiously waiting for any information about their loved ones. Mazen al-Hamada, a Syrian activist who toured capitals around the world detailing the suffering he and his people faced, was found dead in the Sednaya prison. His funeral will be held in the coming hours. Well, let's go straight now to Damascus. There we can speak to Al Jazeera's Resul Serdar. He's live for us in the Syrian capital. And Resul, you're there at a morgue in Damascus where families have been coming looking for their lost relatives and in some cases finding them.
Well, indeed, so far we have seen just a couple of families finding their missing family members, but the majority of the bodies decayed here are not recognizable. So this is the morgue of the Mujtahid Hospital. And now over these two doors, they get to the several rooms. There's one and the other one over there. And there are tons of bodies filled up on the field, on the ground. I have been just in that rooms. And it is just unimaginable what you actually see. So the bodies horribly tortured, some of their parts of the bodies completely just cut off, starved to the death. And the families, most dramatically, they're coming more and more and trying to, by hope, seeing a family member. And so these are dramatic scenes. I was talking to the families. Many of them, women, now you can see that another body is being retrieved and taken to the morgue. While new bodies are arriving to this morgue, of course, some bodies are also being taken to the coffins and leaving the morgue. We are talking about tens of people here. And of course, the emotions are going high, particularly for those families that have affected their missing families, being so heavily tortured, abused, raped, starved to the death. It is just heartbreaking to see the faces of the family members of these victims. And of course, this is the price that Syrians have paid for over the course of 13 years of the civil war. But there are nearly 200,000 missing people, and almost every family that has a missing member is in constant fear that one of them could be actually their loved ones.
Unimaginable pain and despair being felt there in the morgue, Resul. One of the bodies, of course, that has been discovered in the past few days is that of the prominent activist Mazen al-Hamada. Now, his funeral is due, isn't it, in the next few hours in Damascus. What preparations are we seeing for that?
Indeed, Mazen al-Hamada actually is now in this morgue. So, and his funeral is going to be held a couple of hours later in one of the central mosques here in Damascus. And we are expecting thousands and thousands of people to attend to his funeral. So Mazen was one of the first activists that was organizing the protest, peaceful protest against the Syrian regime in 2011. Then shortly posting some protests on the social media, he has been arrested. And then he stayed in a prison for over the course of 15 months. And then when he was released, so he left the country through Turkey and then he went to the Netherlands, and there he started to talk about his story, what happened to him, what he has been going through when he was in the prisons of the regime. And then he got the global attention over there. He has been one of the most vocal voice of the anti-regime, the movements, and particularly on the humanitarian tragedies that are taking place. Then in 2020, the Syrian regime says, well, they're announcing a general amnesty. And Mazen al-Hamada believed in that, and he thought that if he's in Syria, he will be able to help his nation better than staying abroad. And he got to Damascus. And the day that he arrived in Damascus, actually the minute that he landed in Damascus airport, he got arrested again. And since then, there's been no news from him. Just 2 days ago, we have found that he was killed just hours before the fall of the regime. He has been killed by the officials in the Harasta military hospital, and then his body has been left at that morgue. And now then he has been taken to this morgue in al-Mujtahid Hospital's morgue, and in a couple of hours there will be a funeral performed for him, and we're expecting thousands, if not tens of thousands of people to attend, because he is one of the symbolic victims of the Assad regime and its suppression.
And we will be covering that funeral, bringing it to our viewers as well. Resul, for the moment, many thanks indeed.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.